Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of God Built This Podcast. I'm your host Maxine. We're on episode 131. We're going to call this segment, What If I'm the Narcissist? What if I'm the narcissist? I've had a lot of aha moments lately, like for the past 2 weeks. That has been revealed to me internally and externally. And I want to start off with a particular moment that I had with my colleagues. My motherfucking colleagues. We were out a few weeks ago, and we were all together. A lot of us were all together, and let me get the context of my colleagues. We're in a Black populated staff and crew, okay? Meaning I have a lot of Black colleagues more than anything else, which is amazing. Not to say that, I cannot not like Black people, because, there are Black people who still upheld white supremacy in my previous relationships with Black people through work places. But in this case, my colleagues, we all have a good relationship with each other, which I really appreciate. And a majority of them are Black. And it's just like down to earth Black, just real type of niggas, type of Black, just like really cool people. I really appreciate having them as my colleagues. So what I also appreciate, or maybe sometimes I don't appreciate in the moment, but I always welcome real talk. I welcome honest feedback, but I also welcome it and would prefer it to be done in a gentler tone. But no, all in all, I know it's done in love. I think some people, like I know for myself, growing up, I didn't always have the best delivery when it comes to speaking in general. Like I was very harsh and aggressive and just like, it is what it is, I'm who I am. Just like, okay, girl, but someone's crying because of your words. So, you too sensitive. Like, no, you're being mean. There's a way to share truth without being an asshole. Oftentimes people will use the phrase, well, the truth hurts. Well, the truth hurts. It doesn't have to hurt. Like, you delivering it doesn't have to hurt. The least you could do, even though the truth may be hurtful, the least you could do is deliver it in a gentler capacity. The least you could do is just put it in a nice box and have a gift wrapped. That's a little care. Show me a care package. Anyway, I'm just providing this context to just paint the picture of my workplace environment that I do appreciate. So we're out, and I bring up a topic. I was like, I want to hear your honest opinion. Maybe I'm at fault because I was very clear from the beginning, like, hey, this is what I would like in return. And a lot of people gave me honest opinions, and I appreciate it. Thank you. But anyway, I started off by saying, I do want honest feedback, and tell me if I'm crazy. Tell me if I'm wrong. Please be honest with me. I don't want anyone coddling me. And ultimately, I don't want anyone coddling me, and I appreciate that. But I also feel like, delivery, whatever. But anyway, they were great. So anyway, I start off like that. I say how I don't, I want everyone, like, just be honest. Am I crazy? Am I doing too much? Am I being dramatic? What is going on? So I asked the question. I say, if I text someone that I'm dating, if I text someone who I'm really, like, you don't even have to be in a relationship with that person, just on some I like you, you like me type of vibe, right? Just general, because everyone is in their own particular dating situations or relationship phase, whatever that looks like. And I just say generally, if you like someone romantically and you text them at, let's say, 10 a.m. and they don't respond within 5 minutes, am I wrong to feel upset? Or like, is it okay? They're like, Maxine, what if I actually said 3 minutes, but I was being dramatic with the 3 minutes. I really mean 5. I really fucking mean 5. Everyone was just like, hey, what? Like, they could not even process my thinking on it. And I was very clear as much as I could be. Now, and I also give some context to just who I am and how I process and how I've been throughout my life, and my zodiac sign being a factor in how I process as well, me being Aquarius. For those who may not be familiar with how Aquariuses are, we are typically not as open to everyone. And when we are open to someone, that means that we have really made the intention, really made the selective choice to choose you, to seek you, to really want to be with you, to like you, because we don't like everybody. We don't vibe with everybody. It takes a lot for me to really open up with any old body. And when I choose to like someone, because it's really a choice, everything's a choice. When I choose to like you, when I choose to be with you, when I choose to exclusively see you, when I choose, it is done with intention. It is done with all of the eggs in the basket. And so I'm providing that context, like, you know, it's really intentional, because like I could text friends and not be feeling any type of way if they don't respond in a timely manner. But when I really open my heart to someone and I text them and I don't hear back from them, and of course maybe 5 minutes is dramatic, but within that fucking 20-minute curve, did you die? How come I haven't heard from you yet? So I'm saying all these things, and I'm being honest. And it's so funny because I know when I say it out loud, like a lot of things that I feel inside and that ruminate in my mind, when I finally say it out loud to either myself or to someone, I know it sounds crazy. Like, I know it sounds like, okay, girl, what? I know it does, but it sounds totally different inside of me. Like, it sounds completely sane inside of me, but when I happen to just open my mouth and express it, it's like, oh, wait, I think I do sound kind of off. So I'm saying this, and my colleagues are just like, laughing at me, essentially, which is fine. I'll fuck them up later. It's fine. And they present many obvious, plausible reasons as to why the person you're seeing can't respond as soon as you want them to respond. And it was just so obvious, like, okay, they have a life, they have responsibilities, they are at work, they are taking care of this task, they are running a ship, you know, they are doing what needs to be done in their particular life for that day, right? And it continues on daily. And in my mind, I'm like, so I still don't get it. Okay, you have a job, I have a job, right? You have responsibility. Sure, we all have our own different responsibilities, and we could dictate who's more of a responsibility holder than the other, or, you know, we could dictate, you know, the responsibility Olympics. You know how people like to weigh out who's more oppressed. Black people are more oppressed than Asians, or Jewish people are more oppressed than black people, or, you know, people like to do the whole oppression Olympics to conversation. And I'm not trying to do that when it comes to responsibilities just day to day, but I just see it as, sure, yeah, we all have our own different responsibilities, but I'm someone who, like, I'm very good at multitasking, or at least maybe I shouldn't be, because I'm saying these things out loud, and I'm also criticizing what I'm saying. So I'm not right. I'm not married to these ideas. I'm not right, obviously, but this is my thought process. So I'm bringing it out, and I'm sharing what I'm saying, and I'm saying that so I'm saying this, and I'm saying, like, okay, I know it sounds off, but I feel like if you don't respond, then you don't want me. Then you don't like me. Then you suddenly change your mind. Then there's a shift and I should be worried. Then suddenly you're focused on someone else and I'm a back burner. And what if this one time of you not responding quick enough, or you taking hours to respond, is the moment that spirals into us not talking frequently, if at all, anymore. So that literally comes into my mind every time I don't get a timely response. That is what comes to my mind when I don't receive a response within 5 minutes. I'm thinking of well, you don't like me anymore, you don't love me anymore, you don't want to be with me, you're done with me, you're fading away, all these things, and suddenly Tuesday comes, Wednesday comes, Thursday comes, and I don't hear from you, you're a ghost, and you just disappear. And yes, this is definitely abandonment issues. This is definitely abandonment coming up. But I also don't want to gaslight this is also a real reality. I don't know what's going on. We're going to push through though. We're going to push through. But as I was saying, this is also a reality as well. And I see it from personal experience that I've had with different guys. And I've seen it in other people's experience when they would talk about their dating and how all of a sudden guy number 1, guy 3, 4, whoever in your life suddenly just disappeared and stopped responding to you, and that was that. There was nothing said. And I fear that because I just remember so many instances in my life when I've liked someone, I really decided to put my eggs in the basket here, and suddenly you just change your mind. You just change your fucking mind. I don't like changed minds. And so this is all coming from a space of abandonment, a space of fear, of rejection, and all that. So I recognize that. So that's why I started off like, okay, well, tell me if I'm wrong. And so, yes, I'm wrong. But I was also saying like, okay, yeah, I'm wrong. But am I still wrong for wanting a timely response? And basically someone made it clear, one of my colleagues made it clear to me that you have to give people space, or you have to give people just the mental space in your mind and realize that they're not, and I'm definitely paraphrasing what was said, but basically, I'm not the center of your life. And this is why I asked the question. This is why I'm starting this segment off. What if I'm the narcissist? Because I definitely have a tendency of thinking that, why aren't you thinking about me all the time? Or, sure, you could be thinking about me, but like, why aren't you showing me that? Why aren't you reaching out to me and talk to me every second of the day? Because you could be thinking about me over there, right? But how would I know that? And the only way that I'm confirming with myself that you're thinking about me is when you hit me up, when you call me, when you text me, when you send me something. It's like, oh, okay, he's thinking about me. Okay, I could breathe. I'm relieved. These are literally all the thoughts that come into my mind. So I know it's coming from insecurity. I know it's coming from abandonment. I know it's coming from all these amazing places in my body. And it sucks. It sucks because I do want to just not care. Like, okay, he'll respond when he'll respond. Or this doesn't mean that you're not wanted. This doesn't mean that you're not liked, or these things. But yeah, it's just I need a second. Hold on. Okay, we're back again. I'm just going to be honest. Every time I stop the recording, I'm going to name that because it is what it is, and I'm very transparent here. So after that amazing moment with my colleagues, I do appreciate it. I really don't feel any type of way. I think it was definitely an aha moment. I felt sometimes prior that, is this a narcissist tendency or what? But literally one of my colleagues named, like, that's narcissistic. He named it, and I was like, wait, what? Me? Narcissist? Like, I literally stopped dealing with the guy because he exemplified narcissistic personality disorder to the T. So for you to call me a narcissist, I'm taking it like I reject that. But being the person that I am, as soon as I'm given feedback, I like to process it. I like to research more about it and really sit within myself and internalize it. And to be honest, I think I do have narcissistic tendencies. I definitely think I do exemplify some of these characteristics, and maybe not to a disorder per se, but in some ways I demonstrated, and I don't like that. So I, of course, when I don't like something, when I want to grow in an area, I'm a research rabbit. Like I will find the answer to any and everything that I need. And if I can't find it the first time, I will find it the second time. I will go down a rabbit hole and I will find it. So I go down YouTube because, of course, instantly I'm feeling this whole "it's only me" mentality. Only I'm thinking the way I think. And I realized that I have a tendency of ruminating with my thoughts, meaning I will, and I said it earlier in my explanation of my narcissistic tendencies, how if I don't hear back from you in the timely manner that I would prefer, I'm instantly thinking the worst. I'm thinking that you don't want me anymore. I'm thinking that you don't care for me anymore. I'm thinking that you changed your mind and you are finding your way out, that you are just exiting the door and you're gone. So I instantly go there. Even if we've had a great conversation prior, we were talking great, we just had a great moment with each other, I think, oh, well, he changed his mind. Oh, he didn't text me back in 5 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. Oh, he changed his mind. I really think that. Like, okay, well, you changed your mind. You changed your mind on me. Okay, you're done with me. Okay. So I know I'm learning that this is a self-sabotage behavior that I am exemplifying. I know that this is a tendency that I would do, and I don't want to keep on doing this. So I'm going down this rabbit hole because I'm like, okay, I'm ruminating with my thoughts. I think the worst. Like, what does this mean? What does this look like? Like, what's going on? So I go on YouTube and I type that in. What did I say? I basically just typed in how to stop thinking irrational thoughts. That's what I typed in YouTube. And I come across this video, and I'm going to link, well, by the time you listen to this episode, when you look at the show notes, you'll see a link there. And this is the video that really resonated with me from my research. And in this video, so this is a video, hold on, let me just pull it up real quick if I could find it. So in this video, she talks about how, of course, ruminating and thinking the worst is like not healthy, and of course all this stuff, we know this, obvious, but what does that look like? What does that mean? How do I get better? So she starts off by telling a story, and she says how when you are thinking irrationally, it's something called catastrophizing. Ooh, I said that correctly. When I was practicing saying the word on air, I was like, I don't know if I can say this word, but it's called catastrophizing. So, the word catastrophe. Oh my gosh, this is a catastrophe. There is a thing called catastrophizing when it comes to your thoughts, when it comes to your the things that goes into your mind. And that is something that I definitely do based off of what she shares in the video. She starts off the video by telling a story. And this story really pulled me in. I was like, okay, she got me for the whole 14 minutes of this video. In the story, she describes a man who was driving a car, and the car suddenly breaks down, and he needs a particular tool, or just any tool, and I'm definitely paraphrasing it. Please click the link in the show notes to watch the video, because it's just good to know. Even if you're not someone who catastrophizes like I do, you're very healthy and you're great. First of all, why you listen to the episode? Why you listen to my podcast? Because this is for the crazy people. No, but it's really good to know. Okay, so she shares. So in the story, there's this guy. His car breaks down, and he needs a tool. He needs some help to get his car running. It's a dark night, and he runs into someone, and that person says to him, "Oh, there's a person down the road who could help you. He lives in that house over there, and you can see the house from a distance, but you gotta walk. And the walk isn't short, but it's not long. But it's like, it's a walk." And so the driver, the man whose car broke down, he decides to just, all right, let me go ahead and go on this walk and ask the guy who lives in this house if he has a tool that I could use for my car so I could repair it and drive and go home. So as he's walking down this winding road, it's dark, he's thinking of all these things. He's like, what if he doesn't have it? Or what if he gets mad at me for waking him up at this time? What if there's a guard dog and it attacks me? What if he yells at me and makes me feel stupid for not being prepared? He names all of the what ifs. And by the time he gets to the man's house, at his front door, and he knocks on the door, the guy opens the door, and the guy who lives in the house, he opens the door. I'm sorry, that's my dryer. Just give it a second. Okay, is it done? There we go. So he knocks on the door. The guy opens the door, and the guy's very friendly. He's like, "Hey, hi, how may I help you?" Very friendly. So instantly, he's demonstrating a welcoming nature. But the guy who's looking for help, he was so caught up in his thoughts about all of the things that could go wrong. And he was so fixated on that when he got to the door, and though the guy opened the door with a welcoming nature and all of that, he was like, "Well, I don't want your help anyway. Bye." That's what he says. He made it to the door, and he's received with a welcoming nature, but the guy was so fixated on his catastrophizing that he immediately rejected what it could have been. He rejected the positive outcome that could have played out because he was so committed to the negative outcome. And ultimately, he never got the help that he needed. He walked back to his car with no tool. And that was the story. And the lesson from this story is that we get may not be all. Am I the only one? Like, I know I'm not the only one, because when I read those YouTube comments, I'm like, damn, y'all crazy. I'm kidding. No, but seriously, there was a lot of comments, and that really brings me comfort, but it brings me sadness though, because it's like, damn, there's a lot of people out here struggling. When I say mental health, I never realized what it was until the past few years, because growing up, mental health wasn't even a term back then. Just like how a few older episodes, I talked about how emotional intelligence became a thing. Suddenly, it was a term that people were using. I never heard of that term, emotional intelligence. And when I learned about it, when I researched it, I'm like, oh my God, this is an amazing word. This is an amazing type of intelligence. I want to be more emotionally intelligent. So I was learning more about that and recognizing some people who were exemplifying emotional intelligence and wanting to be more emotional. You'll grow more in what you want to be after you do your research and do the intended work, right? So emotional intelligence wasn't a word that came about when I was younger. Like, I never knew that. That never was brought up. It never was introduced in schools. And I think with words, you can just make up a word. Not to say emotional and intelligence isn't a aren't real words stand alone, but putting it together, that was not a word when growing up. And so was mental health. Mental health was not a word growing up. I knew what therapy was, but therapy was not something that was encouraged or even discussed. Like, I'm coming from a Caribbean Haitian household. Like, therapy, go to church and pray about it. Like, that was the thing. So mental health wasn't even a factor. If you can't even talk about therapy, mental health, bitch, if you don't go ahead and go to Christ with that. But that really was a reality for myself and for many people growing up in the time frame as me. So realizing that, wow, mental health is depleting here. Hey, this is an episode. This is a mental episode. It does bring me sadness. It brings me sadness because it makes me feel like, what if I'm damaged goods? Like, what if this is just in my nature and I have to consistently work at it, but it won't ever be something that I'm naturally good at? Like, it would have to be a choice. Just like I'm choosing to like you, I'm choosing to be with you. I have to choose to not be narcissistic at times. I have to choose. And that's what brings me sadness, because it's like, well, damn, I'm just fucked up. Like, it's just, I'm just not ever going to reach that place of alignment, of growth, because this is not naturally who I've been or who I am. But again, I don't want to. So these are the thoughts that come into my mind. Okay, very honest, and I also don't want to like really sit with those thoughts too much, because I don't want to just come into it defeated, come into it just damn it, like, yo, I'm just never gonna grow. I just have a fixed mindset, because you know what's so funny? The work Maxine, the Maxine at work, the Maxine doing her job, the Maxine as the boss that I am at work, the roles that I play at work, the just who I am in my essence at work, I'm really that bitch. I'm saying that humbly. So I'm really saying that humbly, because I've always prayed, like I've always wanted to be who I am now at work. I remember starting my career in teaching, in education overall. I always admired the women I saw in these administrative roles and even in teaching roles, who just exemplified confidence, who knew what they were doing, who was strong in their words and their actions. And starting in my teaching career, in my career in education, I was thinking like, well, I don't know if I could, I was really doubting myself. I was very timid. I was very unsure if I was able, could I, will I, I was not confident enough then. And I remember speaking with the assistant principal at a prior workplace I was at, and I reached out to her one-on-one. I just wanted to talk to her like, hey, how did you get to be who you are now? Like, how did you become this confident person? And I was like yearning for this confidence, y'all. It was, oh my gosh, I think about that and it brings me like emotional, but I wanted to be that woman. I wanted to be her. And I just admired her, or just like the characteristics that she showed, which was amazing. And to be where I am now, like the past 2 or 3 years, I'm really that girl. Like, I've grown to be who I wanted to be at work. Like, I love that. I love that about myself. But man, when I leave work, that confidence, or that consistent confidence, at least, not to say I'm always this like insecure person, but the insecurity somehow just like finds its way to surface once I leave the workplace, and once I'm interacting in my personal relationships, in my friendships, in my just relationships overall. I'm finding myself not as the same Maxine as I am at work. Is that something that, I just want to know if anyone else is dealing with that, but it's just so interesting. The contrast is crazy. So when I think about, oh my gosh, I could catastrophize. I don't do that at work. At work, I am such a growth mindset type of girl. I know what I'm talking about. If I make a mistake, I know how to grow from it. I know how to uplift others because I have a lot of people, not a lot, but there are a few colleagues around me who may not be as confident in their practice yet. And I know how to bring them out of, like, I'm good with my advice. I'm good with assisting you. I'm good with all these things. And I want to apply all of that. I want to apply the work Maxine to the personal Maxine. So when my guy don't respond back to me in 5 minutes, I'm not thinking the worst. Instead, I'm going to think, oh, he's fucking busy, or oh, he'll respond to me when he can. This doesn't mean rejection. This doesn't mean there's a shift. This doesn't mean these things. So I want to be more work Maxine overall. And I know I believe, I think, I hope, I am trying to be that Maxine overall, because I don't want to just reserve that Maxine once I clock in. I want to be that girl overall, 24/7, no matter where I am, no matter all of that. So that's what I'm realizing. So catastrophizing is something that I'm realizing that I do. And okay, so there's a term, the definition in particular is catastrophizing is a common cognitive distortion or thinking error. It's when we think of a current or future situation as a catastrophe. So basically thinking the worst, thinking all of these irrational thoughts, and all of these thoughts are contributing to the worst outcome, and not thinking positively, and not just checking yourself. So I asked the question, what if I'm the narcissist? And I think, as funny as it is, it's like, damn, I don't want to be that girl. I don't want that. And, I don't know if I talked about it on the podcast, but a few months ago, my dad had a mental breakdown. Okay. He was COVID positive, and they put him on these drugs. And I think it was a steroid in particular. I don't know what type of steroid. I don't know all that information, but I know it was a steroid, and it didn't sit well with his mental capacity. It allowed for him to see delusional thoughts, or just to see things that aren't in this realm. He was seeing dead people. He was seeing people who were not living, okay? And he was seeing them literally walking around as he's in this living, in the realm that we're in right now. And my dad was going crazy. He was going crazy, and he was scared of it. He was afraid because he never experienced that. He never saw dead people. He never saw people just walking around the house and they're not my mom or my sister or my niece. Instead, he was seeing other figures in the house. And it was a really, really scary moment. And it terrified me. It scared me so much so because my dad was also calling. I don't want to give too much of his business, but basically that's the gist of what I want to say. And what scared me about that was all of that from what I said. But he called me and he was trying to make sense of it. He called me. He was like, because he was FaceTiming me, and he's like, "What? Am I dead? Am I dead? Why am I seeing?" And he's naming all the dead people that he's seeing. Am I dead? Why am I seeing this person? Why am I seeing that person? And he is not himself. You know how you can look in someone's eyes and see them or not? I didn't see my dad. And it scared the shit out of me, because you have someone who you grew up with, who raised you, who loved you, who loves you, and they're not who you have known them to be. They're not themselves, and they're not well. And I felt so powerless. And obviously, one, because I'm here in Houston, he's in Boston, and he's FaceTiming me, and he's trying to find the answer to this question. If he's dead, why am I seeing these dead people? And I'm on the FaceTime with him, trying to be, I'm pretty calm. I don't know how I knew to be calm, but I was like, "No, Dad, you're fine. So-and-so is not here. So-and-so is no longer with us. Everything's going to be fine." Just trying to calm him down. And he immediately goes off. He's going off on me. He's like, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? Like, that's not my dad. That's not my dad. My dad doesn't do that. My dad doesn't act like that. My dad doesn't go off like that. My dad is pretty calm, pretty cool, great guy. And for him to just have that episode that lasted for a few weeks, I was scared out of my mind, because I was thinking like, okay, is this something that's hereditary? Is this something that just was induced because of the drug that he was put on to remedy his COVID positive case? What happened for him to come out this way for these few weeks? And now he's fine. He's back to his regular self. They took him off. We demanded that he was taken off of those steroids, and suddenly he became back to his normal self, which I'm happy of. But once he was getting back to himself, the first few days of that, I was still afraid of him. I was getting that fear of him, because I'm thinking like, what if he snaps again? What if he suddenly FaceTimes me again and asks this question? What if he goes off again? What if he's not my dad again? And I think about this, I'm like, okay, well, was there something already inside of him that just needed a boost? Was there something already mentally insane in him that needed that boost to surface? What was it? I also recall a time years ago when I was a child, when I was like 14, 13, when I was young. And growing up, I didn't have the best relationship with my mom. I did not have the best relationship with my mom. And I talked about that on a previous, the OG listeners know why. I don't need to rehash that. But I didn't have a great relationship with my mom. I forgot what episode I talked. Okay, I think it was the episode called Shadow Work. I don't know what number that was, but if you want to go back to that episode in case you're not familiar with why I did not have a great relationship with my mom growing up. So, growing up, I didn't have a great relationship with her, and, you know, the reason was the reason. But she was not who she is now. So, growing up, my mom was very just on edge, very unapproachable. Like, I was afraid of her, not like just scared for my life afraid, but like afraid to just relax around her, because she's gonna have an attitude and make me feel like shit, because she's good with her words and she will cuss you down like nobody's business, which is something that I realized I could do, which is why I don't like to get mad. When I notice when I get mad or when I get upset, I will shut down, because I don't want to go there, because I don't like that in myself. Like, I would rather just shut down or learn other ways to communicate my feelings once I'm ready to, because I don't like that about myself. But anyway, she had her mean tendencies growing up. So, there was a time when she was, hold on. All right. So there was a time when she was walking down the stairs, and she had this face on her. She had this countenance on her. Her facial expression was scary. There was something about her face. It wasn't the mom I knew. And yes, my mom wasn't the nicest growing up, but this was like a meaner mom in her face at that time as she was walking down the stairs. And like her eyes were just different. Her facial reaction was something was off with her. Something was off. And as soon as she was walking down the steps, she just started cussing at me. She was mad at something that I was sitting down at the dining room table. And the way that my house is, when you're sitting at the dining room table, you could turn around and see the stairs behind you, and you could see who's walking down or walking up the stairs. And so she was cussing me out. I don't know why. She was just cussing out. And I just happened to be there, and I got the fire. But it came out of nowhere. And how she was doing it, I was looking at her, and I felt this fear. As I saw her approach. And that was that. But I remember that moment so clearly, because I felt this discomfort. I felt this fear. And as I was growing up, there was moments I'm thinking to myself, once I was learning about like mental disorders or just disorders in general, because, you know, when you watch Lifetime movies a lot, Lifetime movies is really movies about disorders, mental disorders. A lot of these people are really different. I don't want to say crazy, but crazy, okay? They have a different mental capacity. And I was learning about bipolar disorder. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this sounds like my mom. So I was researching it, and I was remembering that moment of her as she was walking down the stairs, and I was thinking like, oh my gosh, maybe she's bipolar, maybe she's this, maybe she's that. But I really was fixated on particularly maybe she's bipolar. But of course, this is not, I'm telling my Haitian mother, you're like, what the fuck? What am I doing? Okay, you keep it to yourself. She's bipolar. Move accordingly. Like, you know, but that was really what I came to the conclusion of. And after a while, my mom really got into prayer, and prayer really calmed her down. Not to say prayer doesn't work. I know prayer does work, but somehow she changed. Somehow she just didn't, she wasn't that girl, that woman anymore in my life. She wasn't mean anymore. She was more approachable. And now I could talk to her about anything. She's very comfortable to talk to. She says, I love you. Growing up, that wasn't at all something that she said to me regularly. It was very rare when she would say that. You'll see, like, I received more negativity than positivity growing up from her, with her. So yeah, so I say all this to say, seeing that moment in time when my mom was displaying possibly bipolar disorder, and seeing my dad a few months ago of him having an episode of what I think to be schizophrenia, I'm thinking like, shit, I must be damaged goods. And you know, they say the ones who are most like talented or creative and who produce such amazing work are fucking crazy. This could line up. Of course, I'm saying this in jest, but I was thinking all these things. And I'm thinking like, oh wow, what if there's something hereditary going on that is inducing mental or personality disorders? And what if there's a point in my life when I am now more of the disorder than I'm not? You know, like, so now that I'm learning more about mental health, now that I'm learning more about different disorders and different thinking irregularities, I just feel this defeat. I feel this fixed mindset, because I'm thinking like, well, what if this is just the cards I'm meant to play? And yes, though I will still work hard and continue to be intentional and not be victim to these things, it still brings me this sadness. Like, damn, like when I was researching and going on the YouTube rabbit hole of how to stop irrational thinking, and then learning all these different terms, like, oh, you may have pure OCD, you may have PTS, you may have all these. It's like, damn, what the fuck? I already know I'm anxious. I already know I have a bit. Like, what else do I have? That's the thing. Like, it just feels like, and maybe that's just also the world that we're in. It's like this push to always have something wrong. Oh, you have this wrong, you have that wrong. So here's a pill for that. Here's a substance for that. Here's why you should be on weed every day. And it's like, I also don't want to do any of that. Like, I also don't want to do, and I know I recorded an episode a few episodes ago talking about maybe I should be on drugs. I was having a mental breakdown. But seriously, I don't want to feel reliant on these things. I know, and oh my gosh, this is so funny to say that out loud, because I know that many people who need medicine are the very ones saying, I don't want medicine. I don't feel like myself. And that is true. Like, I haven't been on medicine. I haven't been on anything necessarily to need medicine for. Like, I haven't been diagnosed. I haven't gone to be diagnosed. I don't know what's going on, but I think I understand the reason behind that, because I don't want to not be myself, but I also don't want to be myself in some ways. So, and what I mean by that is like, although I have a lot of great traits about myself, I do love myself, don't get me wrong, but I have some traits of myself that has just been a part of my identity. Like this is just a flaw that I have. Like I am an overthinker, and sometimes it works. Like you can have a trait that's also good and bad for you. Like me being an overthinker is great for me at work. It's great for me when I am completing something because I look at every detail. I'm very particular. I'm very clear, and I'm all these great things. But me being an overthinker doesn't help me in my personal relationships. So how do I find the balance between the two? Like, how does that even make sense? So maybe I need to be on drugs. No. So yeah, that's the segment. What if I'm the narcissist? What if I'm the narcissist? Well, overall, what I want to end this segment with is give yourself grace. I literally put it in my notes. And I'm saying this because as I was researching about how to stop irrational thinking, and I came across all these videos, and a lot of them resonated with me. I was feeling the sadness, like I was saying, because I felt like, well, damn, maybe I'm just damaged goods. And I was thinking about my family history and my mom, my dad, and what if this is just in me, and what if this is just a part of who I am, and all these things, and I just felt so defeated. I also had to remind myself that no, you are someone who is self-aware. Like I'm self-aware. I am humble, which is amazing because when I was having that conversation with my colleagues, I wanted to receive feedback that could help me grow. And I'm also an improver. Like I am someone who I don't like to just stay. I love to grow. I don't like to stay stagnant, which is why I moved to Houston. I wanted to grow more as the adult that I knew I could be. And now that I am growing into that person, I know that I could continue to grow, so I'm not defective. So I want to just, remind anyone who may be feeling these feelings or thoughts or whatever the case is, you are not defective. You are not just damaged. You can get better. You can grow, and you are still worthy to be loved, right? And I also want to end it with that too, because sometimes I thought like, well, okay, well, Fergus may, whatever, he may change his mind, or I'm thinking all these things because, of course I'm catastrophizing. But I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, well, this is just confirmation that I don't deserve to be loved, and I'm just not going to try anymore. But I had to give myself grace. I had to remind myself, no, even though, yes, I have flaws just like everyone else, because we all have flaws. And I think what the enemy tries to do is try to make you feel like you're the only one with these flaws. No one else will understand. No one else will get it. And that's not true. So remind yourself that you can still grow. You can still get better. I was reading many comments that said, I'm suffering with this right now. And someone said, I'm 68 years old right now, and I'm still struggling with this. I've been in therapy for 30 years. What the fuck? If I'm 68 and hang me to the corner. Let me stop laughing about suicide. I feel like Joe Budden. I really just be laughing about this shit. I don't know. I'm not suicidal, but overall, like, I understand. Like, I get it. Feeling so defeated and feel like, well, this is just it. I don't want to at all uphold that. And I don't want anyone to feel that way. Like, you can get better. You can grow. You can. And just as much as you may display a growth mindset in one particular area in your life, that just shows that you are capable of showing growth mindset in other capacities in your life where you lack that. So give yourself grace. There are some tips that I was able to gather from my research. So let's start off with some practical tips. So the first tip that came up was get some sleep. Go to sleep. If anyone knows where that's from, it's from a reality show on Bravo, and someone said, go to sleep. Oh my gosh, that was such an epic scene. What a great show. But anyway, I'm not gonna say more about that. If you know where that's from, hit me up at Godbrothers Pod on Instagram. But anyway, get some sleep. And the reason why that's one of the tips is because if you don't have enough sleep, you're not really able to function. Your mind is not fully rested and prepared to take on the task of the day. You're delusional. Just like how when we get tired and we're delaying sleep, and we get to a point of delusion, we start laughing all of a sudden, we start mumbling in our words. It's because you're not getting enough sleep. So go to sleep. That's one. Accept uncertainty. Okay, I don't really like that one, but that's one of the other steps. So accept uncertainty, motivate by what you want rather than what you fear. Okay, this is something that really strung with me very well, because sometimes when you're motivated, is motivation done by, well, you don't want to be homeless, right? You don't want to get kicked out of your house, right? So you got to go to work. And yeah, that's true. But you also don't want to start off, you don't want to motivate yourself with fear, because you're going to always feel that fear. That fear will not go away. It will always drive you and you'll be stressed. Instead, replace that fear with positivity. Like, don't you want to go to work because you want to promote yourself? You want to be promoted. You want to make more money. You want to have more access to the lifestyle that you want. Like, there's more ways to motivate yourself. Another example that I saw about that was, if the parent is saying, if you don't pass geometry, you're going to flunk out of school, then you're going to work at McDonald's, then you're going to be a failure. Not to say McDonald's is a bad job, but she made that example to say that you're basically going to be a bum, because that's what is the perception. Not to say that it is, but it's a great paying job, great work. Don't get me wrong. But the point is, sometimes when you're grown, when you was a child, you may have been motivated by fear because you didn't want to disappoint your parents. You didn't want to be this bum. You didn't want to be a failure. So you're going to keep on doing these things. But ultimately, that gives you a disservice. What the fuck is going on? Sorry, motorcycles suddenly want to fly up in the sky. There is a disservice when it comes to those types of motivation, because you're not allowing yourself to see the positivity, and you're instantly only seeing fear. Okay. There was some other things. Where did I find reference your kind of what is it wrong? Oh, I think that was it. Okay. Well, gaps in texting make me work maxing, be present in the moment, how to not. Okay. Well, basically these are the things that you need to do. What it comes down to, you guys, is about intention. Am I being intentional? And when intrusive thought, which is another term that I'm learning, intrusive thoughts are thoughts that come into your mind that are the worst case scenario, that are the always negative outcome, that are just bad thoughts. And these thoughts are not thoughts that were welcome. These thoughts were not given to you. Instead, they suddenly pop up in your mind, and you're just like ruminating on these thoughts. And I was thinking about, like, wow, I do get a lot of intrusive thoughts. I do get thoughts in my head about X, Y, and Z, which leads me down to catastrophizing. And I want to do better with that. So it's about being intentional with your thoughts. And there was this what did I see? So ultimately, when you're thinking, when you have intrusive thoughts, you have to name it in that moment. Give it a name. So let's say you want to call the intrusive thought, Todd. Name it Todd, okay? And be like, Todd, get out of here. Todd. I'm gonna sound so fucking crazy. Maybe don't do it out. I don't know. If you're in a space at work and an intrusive thought come about, then you could say it out loud. But maybe there's other ways you could do it without feeling afraid that someone was going to hear you. But I think ultimately your mental health is number one. Okay? So if an intrusive thought comes in and you need to say, Todd, get the fuck out, say it. Say it. Because I'm going to start saying, Todd, get out. I've been saying Silencio, Bruno. I need to pick a name, because if I'm going to keep on switching it up, it's going to be confusing with myself. So it's either Silencio, Bruno, or Todd, get out. Todd, it's time for you to leave now. It's time for you to leave now, Todd. Okay? So start naming intrusive thoughts. You don't have to give all of your intrusive thoughts names. You just have to give it one name, because Todd could stand for the intrusive thoughts that you have, and just give it in order. You have to give it in order, because you are the authority. Oh my gosh, I was just leading a workshop at work. Like the boss that I am, thank God. I'm really so proud of who I am. But I was so proud of how well it went, and how well I was received, and the work that I put in to deliver my workshop. And one of the things that I said in my workshop, amongst basically the theme of my workshop, was basically having authority in your classroom, knowing how to implement strategies and just a strong structure in your classroom to make sure that you are the one in control rather than the students. And though you're one out of the 20 students in your classroom, every class, you still need to let them know and let it be clear and let it not be confused that you're the head bitch in charge, nigga. You're the HBIC. Seriously. And I was, of course I didn't say it like that. But basically, this is the mindset that you have to go into it as, and these are the strategies to use to make sure that you are the HBIC in your classroom. Okay? And I think about my personal life and how my intrusive thoughts come in, and they try to take over as if they're the HBIC. Excuse me, what? Excuse me, huh? These thoughts come over and they try to demonstrate their authority over me. And I've been victimized by them. I've been so victimized by them that I will lead down this path of catastrophizing, thinking the worst. Oh, you didn't text me back timely. Oh, that means you're done with me. That means you don't want me anymore. That means I'm damaged. That means you don't love me. That means all these things. And no, we don't want that intrusive thought to have authority, to reign supremacy over you. You are in charge of yourself, mind, body, and soul, bitch. So if you want to lose weight, you tell your body, you tell your mind, we're going to complete this workout today. I don't give a fuck if you're tired. Maybe you got to cuss yourself out, whatever that looks like for you. But you have to tell yourself, tell your thoughts, Todd, you need to go. Todd, it's time for you to go now. I was in a workshop a few weeks ago, and this workshop was about how to manage. Actually, she didn't like the word manage, but I don't know how else to describe it. It's basically how to manage your emotions and how to basically be the one in charge of your emotions without your emotions being in charge of you. So when we're feeling feelings of sadness, negative feelings, I don't want to say they're negative, but they're not always positive, right? You don't want to be sad. It's a negative emotion. So when you're feeling negative emotions, allow yourself to feel it. Yes, you're sad because someone you love passed away. Okay? I get sad almost every day when I think about my cousin Joanna. Okay? And I don't, as soon as I say her name, my eyes well up. But I get sad every day when I think about her, because I'm like, damn, she's really gone. She's really gone. But I have to move forward. I can't stay in that sadness for the rest of the day, for the rest of the week, for the rest of that hour even. Because sometimes I would get so sad about it and I would think about her. Ugh, I don't want to. Anyway, basically, allow yourself to feel sad. Allow yourself to feel frustrated. Allow yourself to feel upset. Allow yourself to feel all of these negative emotions. and let it go. Think of these emotions as passengers that, okay, they're in the car, okay, but you're the driver of the car. And sadness and anxiety are the passengers in the back. But hey, you've reached the point, you reached a destination for sadness to get out the car and go somewhere. Okay, so now you reached the point, you passed the light, you pulled over. It's time for you to go now, sadness. It's sadness. This is your stop. Okay, so Todd, it's time for you to go now. Okay, Todd leaves, but anxiety is still there. Anxiety is still creeping in, but you have now pulled over to a new street, a new block, and now it's time for you to go now, anxiety. It's time for you to go. It's time for you to go. So we have to tell our negative emotions, it's time for you to go. It is not time for them to play house. It's not time for them to take refuge inside of you. This is not their home. This body that I have, this body that you have, it's time for you to take hold of it. So when an intrusive thought come in, again, because trust, these are things that just will happen, and it's more frequent for those who, for myself, who have not figured out the strategies, who have not been intentional with the strategies to really keep those emotions, keep those negative thoughts at bay, and eventually outside of you. So now that I am learning more of ways to, first I'm learning about it, because education really, knowledge is fucking power, yo. Hello? And it's so ironic that I work at a place, I'm not gonna say where I work, but basically where I work at, it stands for knowledge. That's all I'm gonna say. If you know, you know. But knowledge is really power. Knowledge is really power. And had I not known what catastrophizing is, had I not known that this is not appropriate thinking, this is not a positive way to think, even though I could feel it, had I not known that there was actually a name for it, that there is actually examples of it that I am definitely seeing and recognizing in my own behavior, I would not have known that, well, oh, there's a way to get out of this. There's a way to move forward. There's a way to seek help in whatever capacity. I'm not saying you got to just go to therapy. I don't always believe in, go on YouTube. But anyway, that's my segment. What if I'm the narcissist? But seriously, you need to tell these emotions to get out. Get out. Okay, your stop is here. You stayed home. You stayed over my apartment. You stayed over my house. You stayed in my car for too long. It's time for you to go now, Todd. It's time for you to go now, Todd. Let's talk about Alfonso Ribeiro. Segment twist.
I have been known to fuck some white girls in my lifetime. Yeah! Okay, now I have my white on TMC. Yes. Every time you see me in a club, guess who I walk out with? Lovely blonde white shit.
All right, so that was an exclusive recording of Carlton Banks, aka Alfonso Ribeiro, who shared with the public that he has been known for fucking some white girls, and when you see me walk out this bitch, it's gonna be with a white woman, even though I think he was being facetious there because he's definitely married, but he's I mean, okay. Now, here's the thing. He talks about in a recent interview, I think he was with Sway in the Morning, and he said how he's not accepted by the black community because his wife is white and he has not felt loved and wanted by the black community. Now, I think ultimately, his experience is his experience. I can't I can confirm nor deny, right? Generally, yes, there is definitely a glance, an eyebrow furry, a screwed up face whenever I see, and some of the girls, some of the black girls around me, whenever we see a black man with a white woman, or just with let's say a non-black, because when I see these niggas with non-black women and like Jewish Hispanics, I'll add them too, with Arabians, whatever they are, North Koreans, what? No. But basically, anyone who's not black, yeah, there are generally reactions by, in particularly black women, who will look at that and feel some type of way. I was just talking about this with someone, about how I know someone who is all this like pro-black shit, Malcolm X, all the lit people, Stokely Carmichael, yet you're not married to a black. Who is this, Harpo? I'm sorry, this is your wife? Oh. People like to say, well, you could still be woke, or you could still, I don't know. I don't believe that. I really don't believe that. I think ultimately who you are at home is who you are. And you build a home with someone who's not of this idea that you are publicly supporting black love, black power, all these things. I just see it differently. Don't come for me, Argentina. But anyway, Alfonso's saying these things, and I don't think, I feel sad for him, because I don't want anyone feeling like they're not accepted by the very own community in which they're a part of. Like, he's black. I mean, I don't know what type of black he is, Alfonso Ribeiro, but he's black, ultimately. Ribeiro, he got something else in him too, but ultimately he is black, and I think there is definitely divisiveness in the black community. It goes into, if you want to be specific in what type of black, like in the Caribbean community, there's divisiveness. In the Black American versus African community, there's divisiveness. Like, it's fucking divided everywhere, and I hate division. Okay. I liked it in math class, but that's it. I really did I love division in math. What? 3rd grade, I was killing those division contests. My teacher at the time, she was just a quick segment, y'all. A quick rant, real quick. My teacher at the time, she would have these it was like a 2-minute timer. If you could finish these division problems within 2 minutes, you'll win this prize. Child, I won every motherfucking prize. You couldn't see me at the division court. You couldn't see me. Hello? I was the division queen. I knew my reciprocals. I knew the dividends. Hello? I knew it. I love division, and I love fractions. But once it got higher, I was like, okay, bring me a book. Let me go back to reading and writing. But no, I think ultimately a great math teacher is someone who knows how to teach. Well, great teacher in general, but like a math teacher, ultimately sometimes with math, it could be intimidating if you're not introduced to it correctly. And what I love about math teachers who know how to teach, they really make you feel comfortable with it. They make you feel like, okay, I can do this. So thankfully, all of my high school experience, I had amazing math teachers. So even though I had this, I don't know if I could intimidation when it comes to math, I was top in all of my math classes throughout my high school career, throughout my middle school career. I was that girl. I was really, and I worked hard for it. So I'm just, I brought this up because I don't like division, but I love division in math class because, that shit was fun. I love competition. Anyway, Alfonso, what type of black? Let's find it out some other time, but I need to do research because Alfonso Ribeiro, Todd, you need to leave now. I'm just gonna start saying that. That is so funny to me. Oh my god, I'm dead ass gonna start saying Todd. it's time for you to go home. And home is not with me. But anyway, Alfonso is not feeling welcome, and I feel sorry that he feels that way. Ultimately, you can't help who you love, and if he is in love and happy with white women, so be it. I think generally, though, taken out of Alfonso in particular, generally, black men who go towards non-black women are not capable of being with black women. Hello, is the mic on? I'm gonna say this every episode. Is the mic on? Do you hear me? Black men who are not with black women are not capable of being with one. And what I mean by that is they are either not man enough for us, are intimidated by us, and because of that intimidation, because of that insecurity of their manhood, they concluded to be, oh, well, she's too bossy, she's a bitch, she has an attitude, and they put it on us as if we're the problem, when it's like, no, you're just not a real man. You're just not a whole man. That's what I mean by that. So anyway, I'm an asshole. But that's really how I feel, because a lot of these niggas who I see with white women or non-black women don't be real niggas, okay? Not to say that they're gay or anything, but like they don't really be like men. Like they're not really men who I feel like could really hold me down type of man. Like just some punk ass niggas. Hello? Like Zach from Married at First. Speaking of Married at First Sight, first of all, I think this guy, I don't know if he's gay. I don't know if he's he does have mannerisms that I notice are kind of like, okay, what's going on? But I think ultimately he's just too sensitive. I wouldn't want my man to be as sensitive as he is. So in the last episode of Married at First Sight, we find out that Zach is COVID positive and, oh my God, going fucking crazy. And one thing I don't like about people who are sick, in particular men who get sick, whatever the sickness is, like it could be a headache, you could have a backache, you could have a tumor. It's not funny. I want you to not be worried. I don't want you to whine. I don't want you to be worried. I don't want you to feel like death. I don't want you to bitch up. Sorry. But you talk about vulnerability. I do. And I want you to take it like a man. Okay? I'm sorry, Zach. You can't smell for the next 2 days. Are you so stressed about that? Yes, it's stressful, but I need him to take it up take it up the ass. I just take it like a man. I feel like he's just such a whiner. Everything's wrong. Oh, I have aches. Oh my God. I could not be with him. Oh my God. Divorce me now. No, not this. Of course. Of course. If my man is sick, I'm going to make you tea. I'm going to rub your back. I'm going to do all these things. But I still want you to feel like you got this. I don't want you to be so defeated by this cold. Oh, you have tremors and you just can't see. You just can't do better. Hey, babe, let me text him back. Good night, love. What's going on? So, I just think when we are it sounds so horrible, right? But seriously, I don't want my man to be so much of a bitch when he gets sick. You have a cold. That is the worst you have. He wasn't having these breathing palpitations. It was just he had a headache or whatever the case is. Ultimately, I want my man to feel like my protector even when he's sick. Yes, you may have, moments when you're not all the way 100%, and sure, that's true. But I ultimately want to still feel like if we happen to be in an alley, and even though you're sick right now, you still got my back. You're still the man that I have always known you to be. So anyway, just back to my dad real quick, because when he was having his mental breakdown, I felt this I don't know. I don't want to say anything bad right now, but ultimately, I just felt this sadness because I'm like, damn, he is so defeated. He's so defeated, and he felt like my dad growing up. I think I shared this before, but he was always this negative Nathan. Okay, the sky's falling. So I guess I learned catastrophizing from him growing up. But he was super anxious, super like always thinking the worst. Even though he has a positive vibe to him, but he also will have this negative cloud, this cloud over him, and it was very disturbing because when I would be home, I would instantly feel the room like, okay, I know my dad's in a mood, or shit, maybe there is something wrong hereditary in my family because I think it's something, I don't know. Anyway, so I say all this to say, I want my man to not feel like he's defeated by a cold. You can't take this cold, like you can't. I hate it because I know for me, when I get sick, when I get a cold, I don't often get sick, but when I do get sick, when I feel something's coming, I attack that sucker left in. That reminds me, I want to make green tea tonight before I go to sleep, but I attack it. I am on defense mode. My body locks up. I'm ready to go and fight the battle. Like every month when I'm on my period, and I know the first 3 days are days when I'm gonna feel the aches a little bit stronger. I'm ready to go. First, I fix my mindset. I tell myself, okay, wow, how beautiful it is to have a body that gets to clean itself out and produce amazing things. Because growing up, I used to hate my period. Not to say I love my period, but I used to have such a negative mindset when it comes to my period. And I think because of that mindset, I would feel even more miserable when I was experiencing aches and cramps and all these things. And it really become a placebo thing because when you automatically think the worst, then you're going to feel it in your body. But if you think more positive, then you're going to feel that in your body as well. Hey, I'm learning about placebos, y'all. Look that up too. But it really is a placebo thing. So whenever my period comes, I am prepared. I'm ready to go. I'm okay. I'm gonna still have a great day. I'm still going to conquer today. I'm still going to complete this workout. I'm going to complete this task. I got it. You have to go into any and everything with that intention. You have to be the HBIC, bitch. Okay? Cuomo, no mo. I can't remember if I talked about Cuomo in the last episode. But I do want to bring him up definitely because I know that he was definitely pressured to resign because of sexual allegations that came about again, or they resurfaced heavily this time and they really wanted him out the paint and he felt that pressure and was gone. But he said in his leaving message, he said that he was not he didn't want to be a distraction. He didn't want to be a distraction for New Yorkers, so he felt it was best to leave. And he also he still kind of stood 10 toes down. He didn't admit to any sexual misconduct. Maybe he may have said something wrong, but he didn't harass. I believe he didn't harass. I believe he didn't rape anything like that. I think ultimately you have some women, grown women, who could have just handled it in the moment and just said, hey man, don't talk to me like that. I don't want your job to be taken away from you. I don't want you to be tainted, but don't talk about how my boobs look good. Not to say that he said that, but I'm sure there was a comment that he made, whatever the case is. But the way that they're painting him out to be is like this sexual predator, and I just don't like that. Anyway, I talked about in the previous episode how I experienced sexual harassment. Sounds so heavy, but I guess it was harassment by a colleague at a former workplace of mine, and he touched my shoulder and was trying to give me a massage. I brushed him off, told him to stop, and I ended up texting him later on that day, telling him how that made me uncomfortable and to not do that again. And I was very clear and direct. He apologized and did not do it again. It stopped. So I took that route because I just didn't want to go down a complicated road. I didn't want to go to HR. I didn't want to do all these things. I didn't think he was a bad guy per se. Yeah, he may be uncomfortable, but I felt like ultimately I could handle myself. And if need be, then we could take it there. Then we could go to the front office, but I'm going to talk to you as an adult, and we're going to handle it from there. And it was handled. And I bring this up because I think ultimately as women, now we're in a society where we're meant to be seen as this weak, voiceless, powerless being because of the Me Too movement. This Me Too movement is making us seem as this, oh, he put me in a corner, I had no other choice. When no, yes, there are instances when you don't have a choice, right? When you are put in a corner and you have to, or feel like you have to succumb to whatever order is being made by that predator at the time. But ultimately, in everyday situations, at work, in your home life, or like, when I say home life, I mean like if you're leaving your apartment complex and you always run into the same neighbor and the neighbor makes you feel uncomfortable, like that's what I mean. I think there are so many ways that we could still take back our control and claim it and make it clear to that person who's making us feel uncomfortable to stop doing that. And when you're stern and you're clear, it works. It really does work. Like, I've had to tell a student one time because he was doing too much and was trying to he was trying to give me a hug. And it was like, nigga, first of all, 6 feet. That's numero uno. And second of all, these kids, these young boys, they see a woman who may be attractive to them. They may feel like, oh, let me get close to her and let me try to be this like cute kid. And it's like, first of all, get the fuck away from me. You're not even my student. Like, you've graduated to a new grade. Get the fuck away from me. You should not even be walking this way. But you have to tell these kids, like, it starts from the beginning. Like, you have to let them know, hey. So I had to pull a student aside one time and was like, what you did was inappropriate. I don't want to go into that. But basically, sometimes kids need to be corrected. Well, all the time, kids need to be corrected. And they need to know what they did was wrong. And they could grow into men and be responsible men. Be caring men. Be thoughtful. Be emotional, intelligent men. And the men today who are exemplifying predatory, creepy behavior, they were not given that talk, or maybe they weren't given the talk well enough, and they think that they could get away with that type of behavior. But you could be, unfortunately, you have to be that teacher. You have to be the one to say, hey, what you did, name that action that made you uncomfortable and handle it. And ultimately, it does work. Ultimately, like, I'd say it works. But if it doesn't work, then there are obviously other steps to go about it. If you need to press charges, if you need to go to HR, if you need to, whatever that looks like. But there are steps to do to handle it. I just don't think we need to go down all the time this road of cancellation. And for Biden to find time to say, hey, Cuomo needs to step down. First of all, Biden, you need to step down. Let me play this clip of Biden speaking. Talk about someone needs to step down. Nigga, you should have never been stepped up. What are we saying?
You got the vaccination? Yeah. Are you okay? I mean, you see, no, it works. Or or the mom and dad, or the neighbor, or when you go to church, or when you're I really mean it. There are trusted interlocutors. Think of the people. If your kid wanted to find out whether or not there's a man on the moon, or whatever, something, or whether those aliens are here or not,
So what the fuck? And he's talking about Cuomo needs to step down. Now, this was from a recent town hall meeting that was conducted by Don Lemon. And the fact that the Democratic Party is just continuing to push this puppet. They're using him as a puppet. and ignoring the obvious cognitive dissonance decline. The cognitive decline overall is completely there. It is in our face, but we're not being honest. It's like having a whole elephant, not just an elephant, but a pink elephant. An elephant with a top hat, with stilettos, and a pink suit. All these things don't go together, but they're together, and they're on an elephant, and nobody is addressing this. Hello? But if you address it, then you're an anti-vaxxer. What the fuck are we saying? Okay, y'all. Let me wrap it up here. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate each and every listen. Please follow God Built This Pod on Instagram and check out our Patreon page where I post and submit exclusive content. Thank you. We're going to go. Bye. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of God Built This Podcast with your host, Maxine. Be sure to leave a review, give me 5 stars, and of course, subscribe. Also, follow God Built This Podcast on Instagram at God Built This Pod. God bless.